New Taipei's Sansia District is home to a youth boxing team that's produced hundreds of accomplished boxers, including some who went on to make the national team. But when the team was first founded 8 years ago, its only purpose was to steer teenagers away from crime. Today in our Sunday Special Report, we meet the man behind the team, a former national team boxer himself who knew the sport could lead to a better life for troubled teens in his community.
我要1个小时之内，我要完成昨天的一个热课表，就是跳绳、铁棒空拳、手把、沙袋。快，动起来！
Shouting orders as he leads this group of young people is boxing coach Chen Che-yu. He is an instructor for youth throughout New Taipei City's Sansia and Yingge districts, where he teaches them to box.
很好，OK， 很好，对，去抓一下，不要站原地。这些青少年其实都很喜欢在外面跟人家惹事啊，或者是跟人家打架啊。
These youngsters all enjoy causing trouble for others or getting in fights with people. By training them to box, you can show them that boxing is actually a valuable sport and teach them to respect their own fists. Then they won't raise their fists in front of others around them.
Through teaching boxing, Chen brings out these youth's innate talent in sports, which he hopes will provide them with emotional support. Aside from being a boxing coach, he is also a social worker focused on youth problems. Some of the youth he works with are from the indigenous people's village, Yingge.
种菜，卖出去，养活我的小孩子。
Yingge village is located along New Taipei City's Dahan River. The majority of the village's residents are Amis who moved here from eastern Taiwan, settling near the Yingge Bridge. They used wood panels, metal sheeting, and discarded building materials to build simple homes and sustain themselves through farming and odd labor jobs. In 1994, the village fell under new flood prevention laws. The villagers' homes were deemed illegal structures, and they were required to be torn down by law. After the village was leveled, the government built a public housing complex in Sansia with units rented out to the villagers. Although the new building offered good facilities, villagers were soon struggling with the expenses of rent and city living. Some of the parents became so busy handling those expenses that their children fell off to the wayside.
Youth issues are actually quite serious here. When we first went into the community that first day, I saw a security booth that they had destroyed.
In a community filled with dropouts, violence, and other youth problems, social workers are burdened with a heavy responsibility. 9th grader Lin Xiaoxun is the youngest child in a family of 5. Her mother runs a betel nut stand, and her father works at a panel molding factory. The two parents work hard to make the money needed to raise their brood. Speaking about her family, the mother says she is grateful to have the help of a social worker so her children don't pick up bad behaviors.
管得很辛苦，教得很辛苦。
It's hard work managing them and hard work teaching them because if they are involved in anything, I have to rush to the school at once. My oldest son won't tell me what's on his mind, so I have to rely on Che-yu and others to help me speak to my son.
Lin followed in her brother's footsteps and joined the boxing team. The team members are as close as family, and nearly all their free time outside of class is spent together. Chen's service to the community starts in the day and continues into the night. After Chen teaches the group boxing, he visits the community's families at their homes. This family has 7 children, one of whom is a rising star at the boxing gym.
Hello.
以前会乱发脾气啊。
In the past, he would have temper tantrums, but now he does his best to stay level-headed. He also doesn't raise his fist randomly. It might be that coach lays down the law over there.
Chen is from the Atayal indigenous tribe. In 2012, he retired from the boxing national team. After he finished his mandatory military service, he worked as a manager at a public housing complex. At this job, he often saw young people skipping class or fighting, which made him recall his own past behavior.
对于原住民的一些不当的言语。
Many people say inappropriate things about indigenous people like, you guys all drink too much, or you guys like to gather on the side of the road. They say these things that make us feel uncomfortable. Actually, what I see in these kids is a shadow of our past, the unequal treatment.
After his contract at the management job was up, Chen joined a social work organization. He started teaching a boxing class and began participating in the lives of the community's youth. However, not long after he started the class, the organization he worked at went through restructuring, and Chen was dismissed with severance pay. He then found himself living off of unemployment insurance.
没钱就没钱，就是没钱的方法嘛。
When there is no money, you come up with ways to cope. Eat a little less, don't buy beverages. I thought maybe I could come up with a way to continue running the boxing classes.
While he was out of work, Chen and some of his laid-off former colleagues set up an association to help local youth. They did odd jobs to get by and keep the association going. Eventually, their story was posted online. It prompted a generous outpouring of contributions.
里面那边的绿火店，到楼上那边绿火店，全部都是明德高中群队捐给我们。
Equipment needed for boxing, like the punching bags, protective gear, gloves, and even the ring, were donated. But even with the donations, the association had trouble meeting the costs for staying in operation. Yet Chen pressed forward, determined not to quit.
突然有一天，他可能想通了，然后愿意跟着我们一起再往前，或是
Sometimes we'll get a young person who suddenly figures it all out and decides to join us. Or maybe they're able to renew their ambition for what they want to do. Maybe they have some positive, encouraging words for us. That sort of thing immediately raises our spirits. I feel that only that sort of thing gives real meaning to existence.
Fortunately, Chen is not alone in his crusade for the community. His ideals resonated with teachers at a nearby public school who organized a school boxing team. Inside and outside of school, teens in the area are able to train their skills.
国小会跟人家打架的，在学校会直接呛老师的。
There are some on the team who, back in elementary school, would pick fights or would yell at the teacher. To this day, I still feel that the real binding force of the team is its upward momentum. Of course, there will always be small problems, but at the very least, the teachers at school and even their parents can see that they're always growing and developing.
Joining the team and competing for the school gives students a clear goal to strive toward. It also makes going to school a more attractive proposition, thus decreasing the rate of dropouts. And when students place in sports competitions, it benefits their studies in the long term, and they can earn scholarships to help out their families.
一方面可以照顾一些弱势的学生。
For one thing, we can look after disadvantaged students. We can also address bad behavior. Some teens who stray onto the wrong path can be brought back to the right course. So I think this is a very good activity.
能够在运动场上坚持的每一位运动员，其实都很不简单。
It's really not easy to be an athlete who persists in their field. They spend so very, very much time on this sport. They're working hard at something they love.
Boxing is about perseverance and personal breakthroughs. Those are also the very things that drive Chen and the other association members. Chasing one breakthrough after another, they've created a stage on which young people who have lost their way can stand tall and discover a new self-confidence.